penny dreadfuls. That's Smoke Jensen." Smoke tied his horse to the hitch rail in front of the big rock guardian and went inside to speak with Haywood Arden, owner and editor. "He sure is mean-looking," the boy from back east said. "And he really does wear them guns all whopper-jawed, don't he?" The first thing Haywood noticed was Smoke wearing two guns, the left-hand .44 worn butt forward for a cross-draw, the right-hand .44 low and tied down. "Expecting trouble, Smoke?" "Not around here. Just getting used to wearing them again. I've got to take a trip, Haywood. I don't know how long I'll be gone. Probably most of the spring and part of the summer. I know Sheriff Carson's out of town, so I'd be beholden if you'd ask him to check in with Sally from time to time. I'm not expecting any trouble out there. Preacher Morrow and Bountiful are right over the ridge, and my hands would fight a grizzly with a stick. I'd just feel better if Monty would drop by now and then." "I'll sure do it, Smoke." He had a dozen questions he liked to ask, but in the West, a man's business was his own. Smoke stuck out his hand. "See you in a few months, Haywood. Give Dana my best." Haywood watched the tall, broad-shouldered, ruggedly handsome man stroll up the boardwalk toward the general store. Smoke Jensen, the last mountain man, the hero of dozens of dime novels, the fastest gun in the West, a man who never wanted the title of gunfighter, but who at 16 years of age was taken under the tutelage of an old he-coon named Preacher. The old mountain man had taught the boy well, and the boy had grown into one of the most feared and respected men in the West. No one really knew how many outlaws and murderers and gunslingers and highwaymen had fallen under Smoke's thundering .44s. Some said 50, others said 200. Smoke himself didn't really know for sure. But Haywood knew one thing for a fact. If Smoke Jensen had strapped on his guns and was going on a journey, it would darn sure be interesting when he reached his destination. Interesting and deadly. The next morning, Smoke saddled a tough mountain-bred horse named Dagger. The outline of a knife was on the animal's left rump. Checked his canvas and tied down supplies on the pack horse and went back into the cabin. The twins were still sleeping as their father slipped into their rooms and softly kissed each child's cheek. He stepped back out into the main room of the cabin, the den, as Sally called it. "Sally, I don't know what I'm riding into this time or how long I'll be gone." She smiled at him. "Then I'll see you when you get back." They embraced, kissed, and Smoke stepped out the door, walking to the barn. With the pack-horse rope in his left hand, Smoke lifted his right hand in farewell, picked up the reins, and pointed Dagger's nose toward the north. Sally watched him until he was out of sight, then with a sigh, turned and walked into the cabin, quietly closing the door behind her. Smoke had dressed warmly, for it was still early spring in the High Lonesome, and the early mornings and nights were cold. But as the sun touched the land with its warming rays, he would shed his heavy-lined jacket and travel wearing a buckskin jacket made for him by the squaws of Indian friends. He traveled following a route that kept the Rocky Mountains to his left and the Medicine Bow Mountains to his right. He crossed the Continental Divide and angled slightly west. He knew this country and loved it. Preacher had first shown this country to him back in the late 60s, and Smoke had fallen in love with it. The columbine was in early bloom, splashing the countryside in blue and lavender and white and purple. Smoke's father, Emmett Jensen, was buried at Brown's Hole, up near the Utah line in the northwest corner of Colorado. Buried lying atop thousands and thousands of dollars in gold. No one except Smoke and Preacher knew that, and neither one of them had any intention of spreading it about. Old Preacher was in his early 80s, at least, but it had filled Smoke with joy and love to learn that he was still alive. Cantankerous old Billy Goat. On his third night out, Smoke made camp halfway between Rabbit Ears Pass and Buffalo Pass, in the high-up country of the Rockies. He had caught some trout just before dusk dropped night on the land and was frying them.